I wish to talk about the developments in the upcoming presidential election in the United States. As I'm sure you have noticed, there have been some tremendous changes and tremendous developments in the polling, the campaign data, the finance data. So today I want to take a look at exactly that and how it will develop in the future. So first of all, what we have seen since Harris has announced her campaign, since he has gotten out there, since he has started her rally, since he has started her TV ads, is that she has gone up tremendously in the polls. As you can see here, Politics currently has her in ahead of Trump by zero point 0.5 percentage points. If you look at 538, she currently leads by 2 percentage points. So what we can see is that these are poll numbers that Democrats would have killed for 2 months ago with Biden, and now they've got it with Harris. So obviously the change in nominee has been a fantastic decision for the Democratic Party. I mean, a few months ago, if you recall, um, Trump was leading Biden with huge margins, like up to 3-4% nationwide. So this actually is a tremendous development for Harris and the Democratic Party, and not only for the campaign as itself, but also Kamala Harris personally has seen a huge boost in her favorability ratings over the past few weeks. As you can see, this is her favorability ratings from 538 again. You can see that for the longest of time she has a tremendously unfavorable favorability rating of minus 15%, at some points even minus 18%. But ever since she announced her campaign this year, it actually went up significantly. You can see it's yourself. She has her favorability ratings have essentially shot up into the sky. What was previously a 36.4 favorability rating has turned into a 43% de facto favorability rating. She has a net favorability of -5, which of course isn't optimal, but this huge spike in favorability and popularity for Harris will probably continue in the future if you actually take a look at the money she is spending, where she is spending it, and how much time there is still to go until her election. So I think it's reasonable to say that these favorability numbers, that these favorability ratings, will actually continue to go up, and actually I think she may actually be able to pull off a net favorable rating, which isn't particularly easy these days. These ratings are especially significant because you can derive from them the pure momentum that the Harris campaign is experiencing at the moment. You can see this very clear graph of the favorability going up compared to the Trump favorability ratings, which have stayed consistent pretty much. There has been this, as you can see in the graph right now, there has been this slight uptick ever since the assassination attempt, which sadly occurred on his life. There has been this slight uptick, but I do not believe that it will be of any statistical relevance in a few weeks' time, because he has kept up his rhetoric. He has kept up his pre-assassination rhetoric. There has been some talk of him maybe moderating that, but that has not occurred. We have seen it at the Republican National Convention. We see it every day in his TV interviews, in his rallies. So I do not believe that this slight uptick in favorability will be even of remote statistical significance in a few weeks' time. So you can just see that while the Trump campaign is relatively static, their base of support is already largely defined. The Harris campaign is actually able to rear in this a tremendous amount of these tremendous amounts of new voters. This is pretty much an incredible favorability chart, because this uptick is almost inconceivable to the political pundits. And what Harris has also been smart to do, and she has made a tremendous decision in that regard, is her VP pick. Tim Walz is a extremely popular governor. You can see there are 56% approval ratings in his home state. To be fair, he is not a particularly known choice, as you can see. 71% of voters are unsure of who he even is. He has, however, an approval rating that is tremendous. 56% in his home state, that is a very good result. And especially as you have seen, and as we all have seen over the past few weeks, as posters have made polls with Walz in it, as they have compared him to J.D. Vance, as they have compared him to other vice presidential nominees of the past, Walz is actually surging in his approval ratings. You can see here on August 8th, so just 2 days ago, he has a net approval rating of plus 11. That is a pretty good result, especially if you compare it to JD Vance's approval rating of currently -6 according to YouGov. So JD Vance is a something that tremendously benefits the Harris campaign. I think there's no denying that. As you have seen with the plane stunt, as you have seen with the whole couch affair, as you have seen with so many other statements from JD Vance, with so many skeletons that he has in his closet, I think he is a tremendous boost for the Harris campaign, which is surely explains also the favorability rating she has gained, because we have to remember J.D. Vance was announced as the Republican vice presidential nominee like a week or two even before Harris has even announced that she will be the Democratic nominee, or that she will seek the nomination. So J.D. Vance was an incredible enrichment to the Harris campaign, and given the fact that Walz, that her running mate, is now also hugely popular, that he has now gained this popularity, that he will now continue to gain this national popularity as the campaign trail develops, is an very positive sign for the Harris campaign. And every Democrat and the entire Democratic National Convention should be just in pure joy due to these numbers. However, I do not think that's Walter's However, I do not think that the fact that Walz is not very well known should be ignored. The Harris campaign has to work on that, because we have seen that Walz is an incredibly popular guy to those that know him, and that is critical. To like someone, you have to know them. So the Harris campaign should primarily be focused on getting the name Tim Walz, of getting his character, his history out there as soon as possible, and they are doing that. That leads me to come to the next point, that is campaign finance. So if you take a look at the financials of the campaigns, you can see some incredibly interesting numbers. So first of all, let's look at the totals raised. The Harris campaign has been active for like a couple of weeks, a month at this point maximum. And she has already managed to raise 284 million US dollars worth of donations, most of them, or at least a huge percent of them, from individual contributions. Now, this is a record shattering amount of donations to receive in such a short amount of time. And the Harris campaign has not been shy about spending that money. If you take a look, a total of $190 million spent ever since the campaign was announced. That's a huge amount of money, one that has certainly contributed to the Harris campaign and Kamala Harris' personal approval ratings having shot up. So the Harris campaign has raised a lot of money. They have spent a lot of money. They don't waste any time. They don't stockpile anything, which is in huge contrast to Donald Trump's campaign spending. Now, Trump's campaign has been going for like 2 years now, and he has managed to raise in total 221 million US dollars. Now, that is, if you take a look, um, actually less than Harris has managed to raise in just a few weeks. So that already are terrible numbers for the Trump campaign, especially if you look at the individual contributions. There have only been $9 million worth of individual contributions to the Trump campaign, which is a horrendous number if you consider that they have raised 221 million. That's not even a percentage point, if I'm right. And the Trump campaign has also spent a lot less, only 92 million. The Harris campaign has outspent them almost by double the amount that Trump has spent. It's actually quite astounding to see the Trump campaign not spending a lot of money. No, so they have just spent a lot less. They have just spent 92 million. That's nothing. Harris has spent double the amount of money, and that is showing in the polls. These polls that are coming out with sometimes Harris leading by up to 5 percentage points, by 2 percentage points, by three, by four. These polls are only occurring because Harris is spending so much money, because Harris is um, getting her message out there, her message of positivity and whatever. She is just in there. She is going to the important stage, and we'll talk about that later. But she is just out there, and she is getting her name out, and that is what Trump is quite frankly not doing. He isn't spending remotely enough to promote his image. He is not spending remotely enough to save JD Vance's image. So what you see is that these polling numbers are explained by the fact that Harris is spending double the amount of money in just these short few weeks than Trump has spent over his entire campaign. Now, also, the Democrats overall, the entire Act Blue PAC has gained tremendous amounts of money, so much so that the Democrats have actually taken the lead again in the generic congressional ballot by 1 percentage point, which, as you can see over the past few months, has always been rather Republican leaning by about a zero point 0.5 percentage points Republican. Sometimes they have, as you can see, swing to the Democrats by about 0.2 percentage points, but it never was really that great. And now you see a 1% almost net Democrat favored uh, generic congressional ballots. So you can just see that the numbers, the Harris nomination has been a huge boost for the Democratic Party. It's been a huge boost for ACT Blue, for congressional Democrats, but for Harris as well. So with all of this in mind, we should now take a look at the electoral map. Now, I'm just going to classify the states that will be blue no matter what. We know these states: California, Washington, Illinois, New York, the vast majority of the Mid Atlantic. All of this will be blue no matter what happens. We know that they have always voted blue, and there is just no debate about it. Now, there are some states which will, while not by huge margins as the others, still most likely go Democrat. These are states like Virginia. These are states like New Mexico and Colorado, which have been considered swing states in the past, but in the recent few years just have transferred into these pretty solid Democratic states. Minnesota, there has been a lot of debate about Minnesota, but ever since Tim Walz has been on the ticket, I think it's rational to see that Minnesota will probably go to the Democrats by the same margins as states like Virginia or Colorado. Um, Yeah, next we will just classify the states that probably will go, but will go Democratic, but we are unsure yet. I'd classify New Hampshire as such a state. I just think the general vibes of this election, if I can say so, points to New Hampshire going more in the Democratic direction. There can be a counterpoint made to that, but I simply do believe New Hampshire will vote Democratic because Trump's rhetoric just doesn't fit this New Hampshire style of politics. New Hampshire Republicans are primarily those, Rockefeller, Cabin Lodge Republicans, they do not like Trump's rhetoric. They do not like J.D. Vance's rhetoric. They do not like this entire ticket. If it were not a Republican nominee, then maybe, but in the current political climate, I do not see New Hampshire going Democratic. Same is for Maine, the first congressional district, which will likely be Democratic, and Maine at large. I also don't believe that Maine at large will go Republican this year. It didn't go in 2020, it didn't go in 2016, so I do not believe that it will right now, especially with the momentum on the Democratic campaign side. Now we will just classify quickly the Republican states, so we can get down to the actually important states. These rural states: Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, the Deep South, states like Indiana, which have consistently voted Republican, Utah, Alaska. I don't think anyone would try to even point to these states as potential swings this year. I think our political system is way too divided for that. Nebraska at large as well. I just do not see how these states would at all swing this year, and most people agree. Iowa as well. Now, states that will probably go Republican, not by huge margins, are Texas and Florida. There has been some talk, as there has been for years, at the Democratic side of maybe gaining Texas this year, but I simply do not see it happening. It's just too much of a polarized state right now. The demographics don't point to it, the polls don't point to it, the financial numbers don't point to it. So I do not believe that neither Texas or Florida will go blue this year. I do, however, believe that Maine will probably go slightly Republican. The second congressional district of Maine is just very rural. It's Trump won it last time, and I do also believe that he will win it this time as well. They do not really buy into Kamala Harris' style of politics, although I do believe that Tim Walz could boost the Democrats hugely in Maine's second congressional district due to his more rural appeal. But right now, due to the fact that Walz is not particularly well known, I do not see how that would change. So we are currently, right now, we have arrived at essentially the states that matter in this election, which are Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. Now, currently we have the Dems at 225 EVs and the Republicans at 219 EVs. I apologize. I will actually mark Nebraska's second congressional district as a pretty likely Democratic vote. I do not think I need to explain. It's an urban district. They just generally vote Democratic, especially with Kamala Harris. So let's just take a look at these the toss-up states. Let's first look at Nevada. Now, Nevada, as you know, has voted Democrats in the past. They have voted Democrats in 2020, and it looks right now, Trump did actually lead in Nevada. However, as we have seen across the entire nation, as we have seen across so many swing states, ever since Vice President Kamala Harris has announced her candidacy, she has surged in the polls. Nearly 6 percentage points here, according to the Daily Indy. There has been a poll, there have been a lot of polls in Nevada recently that have shown her up. This is just one. They have closed the gap, and well, I think Nevada may actually be able to change those odds. I have previously categorized Nevada as a tilt Republican state, but with these polls coming out and with Harris having these huge approval ratings, with her being ahead in the national polls, with these approval ratings again, with Tim Walz having huge approval ratings, especially with Latino voters, which are a hugely important demographic in these states. Kamala Harris has an 18-point lead over Donald Trump with Latino voters. Now, the trend previously has been that they were going more into the Trump category, that they would rather vote Republican. But right now, it looks like they will be going back to the Harris camp. And as they are an incredibly important demographic in the states like Nevada and Arizona. And as we see that Harris is leading in polls by 6 percentage points, I feel confident in categorizing Nevada as a tilt Dem state. I think it's likely that will happen. I see the same thing happening in Arizona. Arizona has a huge Latino population. The polling situation there is pretty similar. So I'm also confident in categorizing both Nevada and Arizona as likely Democratic states. Now, I have categorized these states as Republican before, and well, right now, I do categorize them as Democrat because the demographics are in favor of the Democrats, the financials, the polling is in favor of the Democrats. I see no reason to not have them as Democratic states. So we now have the Democrats at 243, while Republicans are at 219. Now let's take a look at these crucial Great Lakes states: Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Now the thing is, they will, in my point of view, decide this election. I do not think, even if, let's say, Trump wins in Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina, he would still be only at 268. That means whoever wins these three states essentially wins the election. So let's take a look at how the polling is looking in these states. And, well, Harris leads, and by significant margins. Trump has been leading in Michigan, as we're looking at Michigan right now, has been leading Biden by up to 2 percentage points. He has been leading by sometimes even 3, 4. As you can see below, he has been for most of the year the favorite to win is by polls. But now, ever since Harris has announced, you can see she has surpassed him tremendously. It's now a Harris +1 state. And especially if you take a look at Michigan's demographics, an incredibly important demographic for Michigan is Arab Americans, and they are pretty satisfied from what I get in the media, from what Harris has publicly stated towards the whole Israel situation. They are pretty satisfied with Kamala Harris. So, as the polls show it again, as the favorability shows it again, as the spending shows it, I am confident in classifying Michigan as a tilt blue state. Actually, let me change New Hampshire's classification because I don't think it will be nearly as close as Michigan. If we take a look at Pennsylvania, Harris is leading in Pennsylvania as well on the key endorsement from Governor Shapiro, the fact that he was considered a potential VP for her. I think it will boost her greatly in the state. So it is currently about a percentage point, but again, a huge uptick since the Biden days. So I am also confident in classifying Pennsylvania as a likely Democrat state. Now, as you will see, with just these 4 states, the Democrats have already have won the White House essentially with 277 electoral votes. So this is the path to victory. But let's continue with Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin currently also shows a great benefit for Harris, as she is leading in most polls by 3 to 2 to 1 percentage points. But in most polls, she is leading with an average, I'd say, about 2 percentage points. And again, the same factors that leads to her winning Michigan and Pennsylvania, with the fact that the unions are endorsing her, the fact that the Arab Americans are supportive of her, the fact that she's so favorable, the fact that she has so much money, that she's spending so much money, the fact she has a more rural, more toned down running mate, also lead me to positively and confidently say that as of right now, Wisconsin will vote blue. And that leaves us with Georgia and North Carolina. Now, let's look at Georgia. Georgia is a state that is very complicated. They have voted, as we all know, for Biden in the last election. As the poll suggested, again with Biden this year, he would have lost. Trump was leading by up to 4 percentage points, by up to 8 percentage points. But ever since Harris announced again that huge boost, that pure momentum the campaign experienced, has led to her being able to catch up to Trump with, now Trump only leading with 0.6 percentage points. So if the Harris campaign will be able to carry this momentum, if the Harris campaign will be able to transfer the huge support it enjoys in across the entire nation into Georgia, I do believe that it will be able to again win the state. But as of right now, if she would have chosen Roy Cooper as a running mate, the governor of North Carolina, I do believe she would have won it because just of that Southern flair he would have brought along. But right now, as I see it, she will not win Georgia. I take Alabama there, but Georgia, I do not believe right now she will win Georgia. I just don't think that she would focus on that too much. I think she will focus on these Great Lakes states and Nevada and Arizona. Even as I speak right now, Harris is holding a rally in Arizona, so I think she will focus on the Sunbelt states and even the Western states, because the demographics and everything just show us that these states are easier for the Democrats to win. And now our last state, North Carolina, I'm gonna make it pretty easy. I do not believe North Carolina is in reach for Democrats this year. If she would have chosen Roy Cooper, maybe, but I just do not believe North Carolina will swing blue this year. I just do not see it happening. The same discussion was happening 4 years ago, and I just don't see it happening. I think it's a bit of real naive optimism from the Democrats to believe they will be able to flip North Carolina. I just simply do not believe it is possible this year. Maybe 2028 if this year turns out well for Democrats, but this year for me is pretty unlikely. So this is the final election map: 287 for the Democrats, while 251 for Republicans. That means Harris would win, of course, and we have to see if this actually turns out. We have to see if Harris is able to transfer the momentum, to keep that momentum going in the future. We have to see if Harris is able to keep the funds incoming with the huge amount of spending she is doing, and we have to see if maybe there won't be maybe an October surprise or something similar. We will just have to see how everything develops, but as of right now, this is how I see the election going, with then Kamala Harris becoming the 47th president of the United States.